For those who grew up Catholic in the days when daily or weekly confession was encouraged or required, they grew up knowing the difference between sins of omission and sins of commission. Omission meant that you didn't do something you probably should have done, like helping someone who had fallen down or speaking up for someone who was being mistreated. Commission meant that you did something directly that you shouldn't have done, like hitting your sibling or cheating on a test or saying a bad word, according to some. What if we thought about secrets in the same way? What if there are secrets of omission and secrets of commission? A secret of omission would be figuring out a way to get a vaccine before you're eligible for one, and then just not telling anyone that you have had the vaccine. A secret of commission would be having a friend ask you about your level of drinking or drug usage during the pandemic, and you specifically lying to that friend about your consumption level. We all have secrets. There are things we have lied about to protect ourselves or someone else, or to avoid shame or embarrassment, or to get something or someone we wanted. Secrets of commission. There are other things that we haven't lied about necessarily, but that we have simply kept to ourselves. In addition to our individual secrets, most families also have secrets, and that includes church families. Sometimes they eventually come out into the open, and other times, generations come and go, and no one knows the secret that is the source of the wounding. My family had a very big secret while I was growing up. And I've mentioned before that my mom was an alcoholic. She was the primary keeper of the secret, and I often wonder how it contributed to her alcoholism, or if it did. When I was a senior in high school, she could no longer carry the secret, and she told one of my high school teachers. My teacher told me she was sorry to burden me with it, but she refused to be the holder of my family's secret. She did the right thing by passing it along. Eventually, our whole family found out the content of the secret, and we lived through it. Our secret was one of omission, the failure to say anything about something very big. I had 2 sets of parents, and both sets kept the secret, as did all 4 sets of grandparents and all of the aunts and uncles. Secrets are tricky. When we're children, we're taught how to keep a secret and rewarded when we do. We're even taught that it's okay to lie if it's to keep a fun secret, like a secret about a Christmas or birthday present, or a surprise party of some kind, or a special outing that's a surprise. When we develop friendships as kids, we love telling and keeping secrets as a way to solidify those friendships. And then, as we grow into adults, secrets often lose their fun, unless it's for a surprise of some kind that someone will enjoy. Secrets become burdensome, painful. They can actually create health problems in us. They can tear families apart. The consequences of keeping secrets are much more severe. When we look at the life and ministry of Jesus, what do we see, hear, and understand about secret keeping? The text that Gail read this morning is a curious one. Jesus is still traveling around the villages and healing those who are ill and casting out or throwing out the demons. Our story begins with Jesus, James, and John going to the home of Simon and Andrew, and with them, to Simon's mother-in-law's house. So we find out Simon is married. In a couple stories ago, we found out that Simon just got up and left everything and went to follow Jesus. Simon's mother-in-law is sick in bed with a fever, and Jesus goes to her, holds her by the hand, lifts her up, and the fever leaves her, and then she serves them. Literally, there is no rest for the weary or sick. That evening at sunset, people brought to Jesus those who were sick or demon-possessed. We are told the whole town gathered near the door. So Jesus is inside healing people, and the town is outside listening and watching. Jesus healed people who were sick with all kinds of diseases and threw out many demons. And then we are told that Jesus did not let the demons speak because they recognized him. This is different. We should pay attention. In our story last week, the one right before this one, the demon Jesus cast out screamed loudly and identified Jesus as Jesus of Nazareth, and then said, "I know who you are. You are the Holy One from God." So what has changed that now Jesus is silencing the demons who recognize him? The next day, before sunrise, Jesus got up and went to a deserted place where he could be by himself and pray. Simon and the others found him and said, "Everyone's looking for you." I can only imagine what Jesus must have said to himself at that point. But out loud, he told them they should head in the other direction so that they could keep moving and go to nearby villages to preach and teach and cast out more demons. As they leave to travel through Galilee, we are left wondering why Jesus silenced the demons. What would they have said that Jesus didn't want said? For almost a century or more, scholars thought Jesus didn't want the demons to identify him as the Messiah. They called this the messianic secret. There were different schools of thought. One school of thought was that Jesus didn't want the people to know that he was the Messiah because that would spur the opposition into action, and they would execute Jesus before he could complete his mission. Another school of thought was that Jesus didn't want the disciples to know exactly who he was because he wanted to slowly ease them into who he was and what he was about so that he could train them along the way. Both of those ideas are interesting. Fortunately, in the 20th century, there were other scholars, including Marcus Borg, who took seriously the study of Jesus and made no assumptions or foregone conclusions about who Jesus was in order to get to know the person of Jesus, or what we sometimes call the historical Jesus. They did not study the Bible through the lens of Jesus as Messiah or Jesus as both divine and human. In their course of study, they discovered that Jesus did not think of himself or describe himself as divine or as the Messiah or even as the final prophet come to save the world. Instead, Borg claims that Jesus believed himself to be called by the Spirit to speak truth to power to the religious authorities because religion had been co-opted by the powerful and the greedy. Borg goes on to say that Jesus had powerful experiences of the Spirit, and that's what led to his ability to heal people and to have the courage and the wisdom to speak true words to those who needed to hear. Borg claims that it was the early church who identified Jesus as the promised Messiah, and it was never Jesus himself who identified that way. Jesus' authority then came not from his title, but from the Spirit. As followers of Jesus, the good news for us is that we too can experience the same Spirit and the power and the healing power of that same Spirit. Borg reminds us that each gospel is written by a person or a few people with very specific perspectives. Even the gospel that we think is the most historical, which is the Gospel of Mark, was written by someone who already had particular views and had particular beliefs. And so the writing of history is never purely objective. While we don't have answers about why Mark portrays Jesus as silencing the demons, we do have some new ideas to consider. First, Jesus was not modeling or preaching the keeping of secrets. If anything, everywhere Jesus went, it was as if a searchlight was turned on and things and people that were kept hidden were brought into the light. Think of how many people Jesus healed in the gospel stories were invisible to the community. They were nobodies. They were pushed aside, relegated to the position of unclean or untouchable or unlovable or even worthless. But when Jesus came along and into the village, that person or those people were made visible. There are so many stories about people trying to trick Jesus into thinking something else, and Jesus seeing right through the omission or commission and naming what was true. A community could not hide its secrets when Jesus was in their midst, including the secrets related to the mistreatment of people. Second, for healing to happen, truth has to be spoken, even if it includes naming the demons who are wreaking havoc. Even if it includes the loss of position or power for someone who is known to be a leader or even called beloved. Of those who believe Jesus had a big secret to keep is that the reality is really the opposite. The healing Jesus offers happens when the truth is known and told. The 12-step programs have understood that all along. The idea that true freedom, true sobriety, true healing happens when someone is finally willing to be honest about who they are and who they have been. In this day and time, because of the pressures around social media and the constant calls for transparency from our political leaders and of our institutions, it's important to understand the difference between what is private and what is secret. Here are some ways experts describe the differences. Secrecy is the act of hiding information. Privacy is about being unobserved, being able to have my own experience of life without the eyes of anyone else on me. Secrets break trust, whereas privacy is simply not sharing certain parts of your life. We're compelled to seek privacy so we can balance out our communal life. We can't know ourselves without being alone. One expert warns that individuals who try to limit privacy in relationships are often doing so under a guise of intimacy. Really, it's just an attempt to assert control. Privacy is actually very healthy in relationships, and oversharing can be a boundaries issue. Someone else says, it's important to establish healthy relationships with people before revealing too much private information with them. Whereas privacy feels like a choice, people who have secrets often feel compelled by fear or shame to keep them hidden. Someone else says, when you keep something secret, it's because of fear. Perhaps you're afraid someone won't like you or that they'll shame you. Or maybe you think revealing a secret will have serious consequences, like you might get fired or a relationship might end. And I would add, or you might think the person won't believe you. Here are some other examples of the differences between privacy and secrecy. Let's look at medical information. I don't have to tell anyone, including my employer, about my medical history or even my current medical history. If I'm keeping my medical information from my family or even lying about it, then it might be a secret instead of just me keeping privacy. Think of parents who choose to keep diagnosed illnesses from their children or families. There are some fuzzy areas between secrecy and privacy. One of the ways we can always tell if something is a secret is if we are lying about things. Another area is sexual identity. I don't have to tell anyone that I'm queer, not even when I am interviewing for a church position, or in your case, for any other job. I can insist that is private information. If I'm asked a question and I lie about it, then I am keeping a secret. In that case, I have violated trust. It's an interesting area because often these become secrets of omission. I may not lie directly, but I might not also be telling you the truth about who I am. If my motivation for keeping my identity secret, meaning I'm willing to lie about it, if my motivation is fear of not getting the job or fear of prosecution or shame, then I'm engaging in secret keeping that is not going to be healthy for me or the congregation or my place of employment. If I'm keeping the secret because my life is in danger, that's a whole other discussion. Related to family background or childhood experiences, many of us choose to be private about our childhood experiences. Some of us want to protect our families from criticism. Some of us don't feel like bringing up memories that can be painful. Some of us simply want to move on. Some of us marvel at what a sort of simple and loving and easy childhood we've had. Again, though, in this area, we can find ourselves lying about certain things or not telling full truths or feeling shame or fear. And if that's true, then we can identify some of our experiences as secrets. And then we can ask ourselves what our motivation is for keeping something secret. Who or what are we protecting? Who or what do we fear? Who or what brings up shame in us? Sometimes we need help sorting through what is private and what are secrets we are keeping. We're talking a lot these days about healing ourselves, healing our nation, healing our city of Chicago. Certainly we want healing in our families. If we are going to be intentional and seek healing in any way, we have to be willing to examine the secrets that are continuing to cause wounds. It's very difficult to heal when secrets are willingly kept. Jesus, it turns out, was not an advocate of keeping secrets. So much of Jesus' short life on earth was focused on healing people, and that healing meant exposing the truth, exposing the wounds, exposing the demons, calling them all out, bringing them into the light, and bringing into the light those who had been rendered invisible so all could see them and receive them back into community. What secrets are you keeping this morning? What secrets are your families keeping? What secrets are there in our church community, locally and nationally? What secrets need to be exposed in Chicago? If you want help working through something you think might be a secret in need of healing, I can help you, or I can refer you to someone who can help you. Jesus was compelled by his own experience of the Holy Spirit to heal others and to transform power over into power with. One of the reasons racism and white supremacy and Christian supremacy have been allowed to dominate for so long is that people have always been willing to keep them hidden and secret and unexposed. Jesus calls us in these gospel stories to be healed. Jesus calls us to be healers. And Jesus shows us that with the power of the Holy Spirit, anything is possible. May it be so.